How long will you keep giving up your principles to belong? How long will you disguise your anxiety as ambition? How long will you keep calling success that constant noise that keeps you up at night? This isn't about winning, it's about holding on to what holds you. There's a brutal truth that no one tells you. The most dangerous enemy isn't the one in front of you, it's the one you let inside. Your unfiltered thoughts, your misunderstood emotions, your unhealed wounds. That internal noise that sabotages you every time you're about to make a move forward. That inner sabotage doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you that you're not ready, that you might fail. Again. Better to stay where you are. But this isn't even your own voice. It's the enemy that you've let inside. How long are you going to continue to listen to the enemy telling you those old familiar antics? You know the ones. I'll be happy and feel free without the stress and anxiety in my body after I've obtained the right amount of money, or after I've found the right partner. Maybe after I've gotten some rest to be able to focus my mind and my energy towards that goal, or after I've lost that right amount of weight. The worst ones are the ones saying, maybe after I've gotten this last 1 or 2 chores done, and I feel I've accomplished something, or after I've spent enough time on social media in a moment of escapism from my worries, then and only then do we often give ourselves permission to have, do, and be what we truly desire to be, without the mask that we always wear to appeal to the world around us. Isn't it time to really, fully, and truly step into accepting that you already are someone? Why do you so often keep putting yourself on the back burner, patiently waiting for that someday that never seems to come when you'll be able to relax, feel calm, feel free, to feel healthy, to feel loved, to just feel good? Isn't it time to realize that you already are someone? Stop waiting for that someday. You are a queen. Own it, accept it, embrace it, be it. Real leadership doesn't start when you lead others. It starts when you lead your mind, when you silence that voice of fear. Then you can choose to act, think, and feel the next move with clarity, even in the middle of chaos. Because chaos never goes away, what changes is your ability to navigate through it. That choice that says, I am powerful and I am worthy, and even more, I am someone important right now. Saying that with ownership and knowing where you came from. How hard you fought to be here today to keep winning. Every day that you wake up and challenge the day is another day that you choose to accept that win. The world applauds those who win, but admires those who survive without losing themselves. Because success without peace is just a shout with an echo, a crown that weighs more than it's worth. The real question is, do you want to win? Or do you want to resist without betraying yourself? Only one of those will give you freedom. When you know what you're defending, you don't sell yourself at the first attack. The more you know yourself, the less you need to prove. The more you nurture and strengthen that inner queen that you are, the less you care about the battle and chaos in the external world. When you come to realize that the queen on the inside of you is where your true self and true sense of power and peace comes from, without the mask that the external world has expected of you. This isn't about being invulnerable. It's about knowing your weaknesses and protecting them wisely. Recognize that you are not immune to pain, but you can be strong. It's not about building a shield made of pride or arrogance, and instead building a shield of unshakable principles of purpose and clarity. When you know what you're defending, you will be much less willing to sell yourself at the first attack. The more you know about yourself, the less you need to prove to others, which will in turn make others want to know what you're doing differently and how they could follow you. The more you take care of the queen that's inside you, the less you care about the battle. True power isn't seen, it's felt. It's that calm surety that acts like a magnet, drawing others to you in that state of calm, while repelling the people reveling in the chaos. When was the last time you asked yourself, what is it that I really want to protect? When you answer this with clarity and honesty, you'll move differently, with strategy, and not out of reflex. When everything else is at stake, if what you choose to protect is your mental health, your emotional stability, then your integrity and purpose are in full force. That's not selfishness, that's strength, that's leadership. Real victory isn't about winning the game, it's about not losing yourself. A common mistake that most of us make is believing that sacrificing oneself makes someone noble or heroic, but not someone worth following. Because when you know what you're not willing to lose, when you have clarity about who you are and what you'll never allow, you become unpredictable in a world that thrives on manipulating those who don't have a strong core message. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. Most people act from fear and lack. which makes them easy to control. When you feel that you're missing something, it makes you easy to control when you take inventory of all the years that you've been fighting to build yourself into who you are today. Did you realize that you had a bad habit of always putting that future happiness always for another day? Rather than letting yourself have it in the here and now, you've lost who you wanted to be, lost how you wanted to feel. But if you take that inventory of your recent years and see yourself in the present moment, isn't now a good time to see that you already are someone? To see that you do matter, to see that you have made a difference, to see that you are valuable. Isn't it time to stop waiting for tomorrow to start feeling like you matter? Denial is an ugly feeling and it's a powerless feeling, but you didn't come here to be powerless. You came here to be powerful and fulfilled. There are some people who will crumble when given validation, as though they've sold out for that crumb. But you didn't come here to kneel to validation. You already know who you are and what you're made of. You've just been waiting to give yourself permission to accept that part of who you are. You're the person who's done the inner work, visited their shadows and made peace with what can't dominate or convince you of your worth. Others that knew you before now might try to bring up who you were in the past. But after you've upgraded your sense of self, you've moved from a small hut and into a mansion, where those words are acts of people trying to rob that small hut, where you were more exposed and vulnerable. But it's hard to rob a place of anything if you don't live there anymore. If you've moved your sense of self and inner peace and self-worth into a mansion, the people of the past can try to rob that small hut all they like, while you stand tall and proud. So this is the topic, and it's going to a brutal difference between the one who seeks power and the one who seeks clarity. The first is a slave to hunger, a hunger for appreciation, approval, and recognition. The second is free in their purpose to no longer seek those same aspects from others, but to have it with and for themselves, without compromise or comparison. This is who I am. This is my worth. This is what I won't negotiate. This is the power of not giving a fuck. This is that inner power that can't be bought, which is where true riches and happiness come from. If you're tired of playing small and silently asking yourself as you look around inside your mind, who will take care of me or care for me if anything happens to me? Who will take care of my children and care for them if anything happens to me? When you can fully and confidently see that the answer to that is, you knowing confidently with clarity that you are the one. This is true wealth. When you realize this detail inside of yourself, you become one with yourself. That unity is the power to manifest anything and everything in life that you could ever want. When there's no longer a lingering back thought of who will save me or my children, this is where the universe starts to line up with everything that you've been chasing after. If you don't protect yourself, no one will. You are the center. Recognize yourself. Look in the mirror and ask, with brutal honesty, what am I neglecting that I should be protecting with everything? Because when you know what matters, you stop playing by inertia. You play with intention. And in that moment, even with just one small step, you've already won more than those who move aimlessly. Real victory isn't about winning the game with others around you. It's about not losing yourself. You want to know the most common mistake of those who lose without even realizing it? They think protecting what's essential means closing themselves off. That self-knowledge is defense, that taking care of your inner world is selfish, when in reality, it's power. Self-knowledge doesn't make you fragile, it makes you dangerous. Because when you know what you're not willing to lose, when you have clarity about who you are and what you'll never allow, you become unpredictable, and that scares the world. A world that thrives on manipulating people without focus and clarity. Look around. Most people act from fear, from lack, from that constant whisper that says you're missing something. And what does that do? It makes them easy to control. Touch their ego, they collapse. Deny their approval, they kneel. Offer them validation, they sell out. But there's one kind of person who doesn't play by those rules. The one who's done the inner work. The one who's visited their shadows and made peace with them. You can't dominate that person. You can't convince them with applause, nor threaten them with rejection. They don't need to belong, because they already belong to themselves. And this is where the real game begins. The brutal difference between the one who seeks power and the one who seeks clarity. The first is a slave to hunger, for approval, appreciation, attention. The second, free, grounded, unshakable in purpose. Everyone wants power, economic power, influence, status. But real power? It isn't external, it's internal. And it's so quiet. Most people miss it. True power doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It looks at your life head-on and says, "This is who I am. This is my worth. This is what I don't negotiate." It's not loud. It's consistent. And consistency speaks louder than any voice ever could. If this is landing for you, pause, breathe, click like and subscribe. This space is for women who are tired of playing small and are ready to lead with clarity, not chaos. Back to it. What feeds inner power? Clarity. Clarity that can't be bought, can't be gifted, can't be faked. It's earned, cultivated, and yes, sometimes bled for. It's not just knowing what you want when things are easy. It's holding your vision when everything around you falls apart. It's staying still in the storm. Not because you're stuck, but because you already know where you are and where you're going. That kind of presence terrifies those still lost. Clarity is a weapon. It makes people uncomfortable. Because in a world full of doubt, a woman with direction is seen as a threat. She reminds others that it's possible to live with purpose, to walk in peace, to lead without proving. And no one teaches us this. Because if you knew, you'd stop being easy to manipulate. You'd stop buying what you don't need. Stop tolerating what kills you inside. That's why the world rewards the obedient, but punishes the lucid. Because the obedient are pieces. The lucid, they're queens. The queen who lacks clarity is a pawn in disguise, because the strength was never inside. It was in what surrounded you. But the queen with clarity? She can stand alone, surrounded by enemies in complete silence, and still stand tall with intention. Clarity isn't arrogance. It's knowing what you don't know and choosing wisely because of it. Knowing when to move, when to wait, when to give everything, and when to retreat to protect what you can't afford to lose. Self-knowledge isn't just about knowing yourself. It's knowing your limits, your wounds, your blind spots. Because if you don't, someone else will find them and use them against you. But when you see them, when you do the work, they no longer own you. You stop reacting. You start choosing. And that's the next level of the game. Not just surviving, but choosing. There are two kinds of people, and only the second group ever truly leads. Not others, themselves. Here's your wake-up call. If you don't decide your life, someone else will. Not to harm you, but simply because empty space always gets filled. And if you don't fill your life with purpose, the world will fill it with noise, with opinions, with distractions. And before you realize it, you'll be living a borrowed life. One that looks good on the outside, but doesn't feel like your own. That's not victory. That's dressed-up slavery. Success that tastes like defeat. So ask yourself, how many decisions in your life have come from fear, and how many from clarity? That answer tells you if you're really playing or just moving. If you're ready to stop just moving and start leading from within, join us. The Holistic Mama Crew is an email space where we strip away the noise, tap into clarity, and protect our peace like the queens we are. We don't hustle for worth. We lead from it. Subscribe below and start building the life you were meant to create, from the inside out.